why post a show when the visas are not out? We should have we should have already learned this a long time ago.
Learned behavior, is that what you're saying?
Yes, like already you should know. Don't post a show until the visa is out.
But do we know that visa was the issue?
That is what.
Visa was the issue.
Yes.
Yes, visa was the issue, and it was the visa not of Bien, but of I think a band member, guitarist, or something. Yeah, it wasn't for Bien.
Yes,
but it was someone who was supposed to be on the contingent coming with Bien, and Bien wants to curate these very good shows. And so Waka decided we cancel.
So my take from that was like, first, most of the guys were in consensus that it's important to have the visa done first before you start pushing the show. That is one.
Let's say if it was just a band member, a guitarist, that was the issue. All things being equal, and we've got everybody else secured, and this chap is not secured. Somebody else would be like, you know what, we'll go through and we'll use another guitarist, or we'll use somebody else.
A guitarist here.
You could use a guitarist here, or you could use a backup guitarist there who may already have a visa, but that's not the person who you wanted. But again, when you've already curated your show and you've already set them up, and you see, we see what these guys go through, with their folks, it becomes a little bit tricky. So anyway, to me, there's a lot of what ifs.
But those are the things I'm sure that would be discussed in terms of like when you're setting up these things. Okay, in case visa,
you need to have backups.
You have a plan A, plan B, plan C. In case this visa, the ban, whatever,
you need to have backups of these people because someone can get sick.
Last night, DJ Top Don had a very interesting conversation on why the Bien tour was postponed in the US. For those who are not familiar, Bien of Sauti Sol was to come on tour in the US, and there was a Nigerian by the name of Do Concept who was promoting the tour, and on the last hour, it was canceled, and I believe it was because of visa issues. So DJ Moshfire, just give us a brief of what was said in that conversation and where things currently stand.
So Makweli, I didn't join the conversation, so I don't know what was discussed there, but the rumor had it that there was visa related issues in terms of BN's team not being able to come. And ultimately, I think it's about 6 dates initially were cancelled, but as of today, I think probably around 1 p.m. or so, the tour is back on. It's been moved to May, basically. So
the first show is May 14th, Wednesday. Howard Community Theatre.
When is rugby?
Isn't that
rugby? No, they cannot. Tactic rugby ni kama kuguza mlima.
No.
No.
Ndio nauliza when is rugby? See, it's in May.
No. Rugby is that weekend, I think, of 4th. Is it 3rd and 4th?
I think it's the first weekend in May. Right?
Yeah, it's the first week. Kuguza rugby ni kama kuguza mlima.
Ndio maana nasema watu wa rugby mujipange accordingly for May. So
okay.
May may be a busy month, but BN is going to be here in May, and that's
okay. And we'll actually work on trying to get BN in studio. So is there a date for DMV, Omosh?
Yeah,
May 14th.
There are dates.
May 14th.
May 14th. What day of the week is
Wednesday?
Is that
Wednesday?
Okay. Okay. Interesting.
So actually, the tour starts in DC. So May 14th
the tour starts in DC.
May 14th is DC. May 17th, Boston. 18th, New York City. 21st, Atlanta. 23rd, Cincinnati, Ohio. 24th, Minneapolis, Minnesota. 25th, Dallas, Texas, and 26th, Seattle, Washington. So
Okay, all right. So, Mike, did you have a chance to listen to the conversation yesterday?
I jumped on late, but then I rewind it all the way back. I rewound it all the way back.
What did you get out of it?
The issue was, and I think right now the main concern, I think most and I think Kelly's the one was bringing it up along with Nash, and the issue was, why post a show when the visas are not out? We should have already learned this a long time ago.
Learned behavior, is that what you're saying?
Yes, like already you should know, don't post a show until the visa is out.
But do we know that visa was the issue?
Visa was the issue. Yes, visa was the issue. And it was the visa not of Bien, but of I think a band member, a guitarist or something. Yeah, it wasn't for Bien, but it was someone who was supposed to be on the contingent coming with Bien, and Bien wants to curate this very good shows. And so Waka decided we cancel.
So my take from that was, like, first, most of the guys were in consensus that it's important to have the visa done first before you start pushing the show. That is one. However, you don't try and secure the show when you know you have a gig in about a month.
Oh, okay. What do you mean?
Because if you're planning for a gig in a month,
okay, understood.
Got you. You can't. You get the visa like a year behind, a year back, because so that when you already have the visa, even when you plan, you already know that this guy is coming. And that was the issue. That was ideally was the issue.
So I've never gone through with getting these visas because people used to come on
H1Bs,
visitor visa. But now they're actually coming on a work visa.
Yes,
right.
Yes.
So if you don't have the work, then if I'm the one who's issuing the visa, why would I give it to you?
But the work is pending because I'm.
Therein lies the question.
What?
If I am the person if it's me who's issuing you the visa, I'm not giving you a visa before I see a contract.
Okay, the contract can be done.
Correct.
Because
the contract can be done.
But if the contract is done for date X, and the contract is going to be done for date, basically the contract is not going to be done for a year from today. Do you understand what I'm saying? So sometimes
it's not going to be done a year from today.
Yes,
but
if you're planning for a show,
you want to have, let's say, like if you're planning for a show in February,
yes,
you have to make sure before you start advertising.
Correct.
Whatever time you start, let's say you want to start advertising maybe 2 months before the date of the show. You make sure you start applying such that within the time that you want to start advertising, the visa is in hand. And that was Kelly's argument, which I totally agree with him.
And for me, I will tell anybody who is willing to listen, if you've not dealt with the American Embassy, I don't know about other embassies, if you have not dealt with the American Embassy, all these things sound very nice as long as you're an American. Once you're not an American, everything is thrown out. There is no expedited anything. There is nothing like that. They give you a date that they give you when it is that you're going to get this date, whatever it is. Now, some people have that thing of say, okay, well, maybe I'll apply 3 months before. And if you apply 3 months before the anticipated, performance date, you may actually get that, what is it called? The visa interview in 3 months. There's a backlog. And these guys are in no rush at all to give you a time. So I can get what's being said, but then sometimes also practically for someone to go around, secure venues, blah, blah, blah. So I guess, part of it is like you're doing a whole lot of work for something that you're not sure of because you don't, for one, applying for a visa is not a guarantee you'll get a visa, right? And for two, at the same token, with this backlog, you don't know when exactly your date is going to be for you to be called in to go do these things.
But if you're going to earn money and pay taxes and leave taxes over there,
correct, they don't have to honor you.
They don't. No, I agree. They don't
have to honor you.
But
therein lies the problem.
But if I know if this guy is going to go there, we are going to get some taxes or whatever. Nataacha pesa huko. Acha ende.
That sounds nice.
So Omosh, the thing is,
come on, it's
you
business.
can,
sounds nice, but
no, Omosh, you can go secure your venues. You can do all that because at the end of the day, this is a business.
Correct.
You know, nipata potea, you might get, you might lose.
Correct.
So you can go secure your venues.
Yeah.
Securing a venue doesn't mean you have to advertise. You go secure your venue because you're the one who's doing marketing.
Yeah.
The issue is the advertising. So you can do all the preparation that needs to be done, you know, like early enough, but do not advertise before you have the visa in hand. If you went to apply for the visa and they told you that your appointment is in 5 months, then do not post a date within those next 5 months, because you know the visa is not going to be issued within those 5 months.
So Ali, would you wait until you have the visa in hand, or would you start advertising? Let's say your interview is, I don't know, in February, right? And your show your show is in March. So at what point would you start advertising for the March show?
So I'm not a promoter, but if I was one, this is how I would do it to win.
Because you see, right now you're talking not as a promoter, but as a consumer.
Yeah, as you know, but I'm saying, you know, from the shoes, because now the problem is me as a consumer.
Yes,
we've lost trust with promoters because this has happened
one too
many times.
It happens all the time.
Yeah,
by the way, it happens all the time.
So yeah,
artists,
so you see, so you see, for me, like if I'm a promoter, I'd be in a position where I'm trying to win back the trust. So, for example, if I want BN, I would first, you know, like approach BN. BN has agreed. I'm like, let's go through the process of applying for the visa. We apply for the visa. Now, when I get a date of an appointment, that will inform when I'm going to schedule the show. You know, I am not going to schedule a show before we've gone to apply for a visa and even been given an appointment, because you can schedule a show for February and then your appointment is in January and there's no guarantee your January kifika. So for me, let's say like we go schedule a show, nimepatiwa interview, na nikaambiwa it's within 3 months. Let's say your 3 months is March. Then I know I'm starting to work with March. I'll start doing the other things, securing venues and everything, but I will wait until here March. I will give it some time from the date of because you need some time to advertise. And I think that's part of the issue. You can't advertise for 2 weeks. Yeah. No, and I think that's part of the issue.
Correct.
So if I know the interview is in March, let's say March 15th, the interview is secured. Now, let's say you need at least 6 weeks to advertise such a show, or let's say 2 months. Then I would count my 2 months from that date when the interview date is. And this is, of course, me talking from the outside. You know, like I've never been a promoter. I've never worked on securing this. But when this keeps happening, and shows keep being missed, then
or postponed,
people are going to have mistrust of buying advance tickets.
Yes.
Watasema hata tungoje tununue mlango. Then promoters start accusing Kenyans, Wakenya hawapendi kununua advance ticket. When people have been banned before. Watu wamenunua tickets, bana. Watu wamenunua outfits. Watu wamebook hoteli. People bought flights.
People have scheduled
and that's part of the issue.
Ali, I agree with what you're saying, that some things could have been done a different way. But again, also, let's say if it was just a band member, a guitarist, that was the issue. All things being equal. And we've got everybody else secured, and this chap is not secured. Somebody else would be like, you know what, we'll go through and we'll use another guitarist or we'll use somebody else.
A guitarist here.
You could
Yes.
use a
Yeah.
guitarist here, or you could
Yes.
use a backup guitarist there who may already have a visa, but that's not the person who you wanted. But again, when you've already curated your show and you've already set them up, and you see, we see what these guys go through,
Yeah.
with their folks, it becomes a little bit tricky. So anyway, to me, there's a
But
lot
Omosh,
of there's
but
a
Omosh,
lot of what ifs
But
in
those
this.
are the things I'm sure that would be discussed in terms of like when you're setting up these things. Okay, in case visa,
You need to have
you have a
backups.
plan A, plan B, plan C. In case this visa,
You
the
need-
ban, whatever.
You need to have backups of these people because someone can get sick.
True, and like
And
Muzi
if-
said,
And if they get sick, then you have to have a contingent plan.
there's a time Muzi we interviewed him and he said sometimes it's not necessary for you if necessary for you to fly out with your band. You can come over here,
Correct.
get a band,
And
find a training.
you know that's easier
It's
said.
easy.
That's
No.
easier said.
But that was coming from Muzi.
Yes, because Muzi has done that. He's been on the
Exactly.
show on the road
Yes.
in the US.
Yes.
And like these are the guys who come in with their people,
Yes.
go with their
But
people.
they're coming into your people, but
hawajazoea kufanya hiyo kazi.
but I understand.
Hiyo ni kitu ambayo even for you to even bring that up, they'll be like, you know what, forget the gig. I'm
But
not gonna come.
But coming is one thing. Being allowed to come is another. So that means you have to entertain the possibility of your visa not being there. So if your visa or whatever is not right, then what?
Correct.
Then you adjust. You come over here. You talk to like,
They-
hey, Ali.
So
you're
I
a-
think-
Ali,
Yeah.
you're a musician, whatever. Mazi, unajua msee anachezanga band guitar. Like, oh no, don't worry, because there's some guys high school bands.
Yeah,
There is.
there's
I'm
a
sure
lot-
those are mitigation.
I don't think there was a lot of flexibility with this. And I think part of what Ali is saying is that, well, since you knew you didn't have flexibility, then you should have given yourself time for everything to come in.
That's what
So
that's what
Yes.
that's what Kelly was saying.
Yes.
So that then you now have that flexibility on the back end once you already have the bad in hand,
And
right?
that's what I think
I-
Kelly was saying.
right? Yeah.
So here's the other question.
Mm.
Here's the other question that I don't think was addressed because now the new dates that have been issued
yeah.
have the visas of those
Apparently
band
they have.
members
Mika,
been secured.
where is Mika? Mika can confirm.
Mika is gone.
Oh, Mika is gone. Oh, okay.
I think that everything is now okay.
Yes.
And
BN has
they-
his
and
visa.
they would not be coming out saying that the show that had been, I guess, cancelled is now back on. Get your tickets, and those who can't make those dates would be refunded. They are not going to go through all of that because there's a lot riding on this, including the going back to the venues and renegotiating with these chaps and all of those things. There's a whole lot because it's not even about the artists. It's even about the person who's the promoter who has to deal with these venues. And you're not dealing with this venue for only one artist. You're dealing with these venues for a lot of artists because this is the business you do. So there's a lot of things that need to fall into place, and even to have gotten those dates to the point where you're securing those dates. If I'm the promoter and the guy who's got the venues, I'm like, yo, show me that stuff. If you can't show me that stuff, I'm not booking this date.
Yeah.
I mean, but maybe that's being extreme, but
Yeah, but according to Mika, all is set.
So
No, the other issue that came up was also the issue of expectations from Kenyan artists, whereby maybe you're trending in Kenya because you've noticed, Tomosh, from that cohort of artists that used to come from the 2000, from when Jojo Kilimanjaro started doing this in the early 2000s, back I think 2006, 2007, which I think was kind of the peak when the Longombas came and performed at that Hindu temple in Atlanta. But now one of the Longombas has become, like an Ajita and Abia. He calls himself a prophet. But that's a story for another day. But during that time, that's when artists kept coming consistently. The artists who are hot in Kenya. So, and even the artists who came coming after that were those same artists who are hot at that time. There was a point where things froze. And I don't know exactly what it is that happened, because part of what they were saying is that expectations whereby an artist is hot in Kenya, So like when you talk to an artist, zile requirements anakupatia, they don't make sense because they're not gonna be able to pull a crowd to cater for that money that they're asking for, and all those things at the business class, and all those other extra things wanakuja. So they gave an example of Burna Boy, who was doing shows for 5K, like, and works to learn this American circuit for a very, very long time. Even when he'd become popular, where he would take less money than he would get paid in Nigeria, just for an opportunity to get known here and to get into mainstream venues. And that in the long run was able to pay off. And I think that's part of what, there was also the argument of why is a Nigeria running, like Bien's show, yet kuna mapromota wa Kenya na nini. So part of Moses' argument of Jabali Africa was that this Nigerian guy is the one who's gonna get us to the mainstream venues, and do the show in a professional way. You are like you're doing a tight tour, 2 weeks. You're moving city to city to city. Na show is go katikati ya wiki. So those were some of the things that that came up, and there was a difference in opinion between Kelly and Muzi.
And that's the difference between an artist and a producer. Or promoter. There's a very big difference between an artist and a promoter. And remember, Muzi is a guy who's been on the circuit in the US.
He knows it.
And has done it for years.
Yes.
Over 10 years. Being, running around the country, driving himself, booking, have a manager, going from show to college to trade shows to whatever, and then you have your other gigs that you're being booked, and has done it in Kenya as well. So where he's talking from and where he's speaking from is a very different space from where Kelly is sitting as a promoter who has been promoting, and where Kelly was also doing his promotions, and when Kelly was doing his promotions, because a lot of Kelly's promotions were geared around Vegas, where basically for, I'll use this, it may be a bad adage, but I'll use it anyway. The sheep were already there. You don't have to do anything.
Right.
All you have to do was show up. Artist or not, they're coming. So very, very different. From then now, when you have to curate a show where you're doing it almost like Javan was doing, where you're taking that and you're going on the road. And that's a whole other ball of wax. It's very, very different than, bringing in the artist and selling, and very, very different. And I know what Kelly's talking about with the visas. He's gone through that and he knows. And that thing of visas, by the way, it was so bad for us in the 90s. Kofi, when the guy is coming, any one of these Zairwa bands that were coming, we'd say, when they fika, and someone has seen them, is when we will buy a ticket, or we'll even bother. Because it got so bad that you would buy tickets, or you would get tickets ahead of time. And back then there was no social media, blah blah blah. You go to an actual person who's doing it, you pay for the ticket, umempa pesa yako, and then after a while unambiwa, boss, that chap didn't make it because of visa related issues.
And that was Kelly's point. Kelly was arguing, let us not do that because Kenyans are getting frustrated to a point where even if they hear Omosh is coming, you know what's going to happen?
I have to see you touchdown.
Exactly.
I have to
not even that. I have to see
down, and then you're entering the airport. That's why they do those things where they're doing
those videos.
Yes.
Then I be like,
Maka sometimes they have to take a picture with snow.
You have to take it over there where it says LAX. Then I say, okay.
Yes. Yeah, and then you have to chomo a video and say Today is February 7th, Friday.
The newspaper.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That way it's going, yeah.
Kama show ya bien inanza 14th. Do you know what crazy thing could happen or maybe should happen in my dreams?
What?
If by surprise, because 14th is not too far from Vegas. Kwa nini bien asikuje kuperform Vegas?
You mean
not Vegas, I mean LA.
LA.
Yeah.
Rugby.
Kwa nini Bien asikuje kuperform Vegas? That will be crazy. Hiyo hapo sasa,
So
it will now bring even those people who,
ana plant seed huyu.
Unasema wase wa OneMicShow wachukue hiyo kazi.
I'm just throwing out an idea. I see hatuwezani na hiyo kazi. Let's just be honest.
Kwani si tuko na platform na
no. Let me tell you, almost hiyo kazi ya promotion,
yes,
it is not for the faint of heart.
It is not.
Hiyo kitu,
it really is not.
Unataka kuwa nani wewe?
Hiyo kitu
wachia nani? Kina Kelly, kina Jojo, hao watu. Wacha ngangana na hizo mambo. Akina Sistuki.
Hiyo kazi. But mimi nasema if that could happen, man, that will be so amazing because Kenya merudi rugby and then Bien is headlining. Man, hiyo kitu itatumaliza. But if it's starting in DC, we have homework and we need to start working on it right now.
Correct.
Yes.
To make sure that Bien will come
and studio.
Sit in the studio. Acheze ka guitar hapo.
Tubonge naye.
Hapa kwa studio.
Hapa tu.
Hapo because if he's performing in DC on the 14th. If the 14th is a Wednesday.
Okay.
I'm sure he's not arriving in US on the 13th. I'm very sure of that.
So
he's probably arriving a week before.
Kuna vile hiyo Friday anaweza kuwa
hapa tu kwa studio.
Okay.
Yes.
And I hope this message gets out to him. Where Bien?
And it's good if it's starting in DMV. That will be the start of that will now be talking about the whole tour.
Yes.
Of the cities ile ataenda.
Because remember he has performed here.
Correct.
And he loved the experience.
Correct. With Sauti Sol.
With Sauti Sol.
Yes.
So anajua ile upendo alionyeshwa hapa.
Yes.
Wakiwa na nonini so. Yes. So why not?
Yeah. So that's right there. Bien.
So planting a seed.
If there's an artist who can pull Kenyans in the middle of the week, it is Bien. Guess what? Even that guy, what's his names? Pratnams. He will not pull out Kenyans on a Wednesday. But Bien will.
Yes. I believe so.
I said it. Even Diamond Platnumz will not be able to pull out Kenyans on a Wednesday. But Bien akiingia hizi mainstream joints.
Sasa hapo tumempa extra pressure.
Well, I think this unpopular opinion, but I think the cancellation of this current tour will just heighten anticipation, and this will be one of the biggest tours we've ever seen of a Kenyan artist.
I think we are ready.
And it will set the standard of how a tour should look like.
I think we are ready. We are ready.
We are ready.
And with that,
we good?
With that,
na wahenga walinena kilicho na mwanzo, ingawa kulikuwa na madhogodhanio na hitlafu whatever, but it's all good.
Hey, today.
Hakina budi kuwa na mwisho. Meli imetia